With the trailer for the Super Mario movie finally dropping, I thought it would be fun to take a look at the other Mario movies that came before it. Everyone's talked about how bad the live-action movie is and how technically the anime movie is the first Mario movie, but how many people have actually seen them? Do people even know what happens in these movies? The live-action film has a lot to talk about with its wacko lore and behind-the-scenes drama, but not many people know that an entire 7 years prior was when Mario made his theatrical debut. Super Mario Bros. The Great Mission to Rescue Princess Peach. This isn't just the first Mario movie ever made, but the first video game movie ever made too. It hasn't seen a re-release since, meaning that for the longest time, this was the best quality available if you ever wanted to watch it. But very recently, a movie restoration group known as Kindco Video made a 4K restoration of the movie using the 16mm film for everyone to watch. And just to give you a bit of a perspective of how amazing this remaster is, here's the before, and here's the after. Yeah, the quality difference is night and day. I'll be using footage from the remaster by Kindco for this video, but if you want to watch it in its entirety, it's available here on YouTube. The movie opens with Mario playing a game on his Famicom, only for Peach to jump out of it being chased by Bowser. She gets kidnapped and Mario promises to save her by embarking on a journey to the Mushroom Kingdom. However, when Mario frantically tries to explain what happened to Luigi, he doesn't believe any of it. Then we cut to them working at a grocery store in the middle of the desert. It's interesting to see that the story of them being plumbers from Brooklyn definitely wasn't an established thing yet. However, they also don't have Mario originating from the Mushroom World like modern lore. But to be fair, pretty much nothing was an established thing yet. This movie released less than a year after SMB 1 and was sort of made to promote the sequel we know as Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels. Mario is certain that what happened was real because he still has Peach's necklace, which Luigi recognizes as a mystical stone that will lead them to a land of treasure. Luigi in this movie is characterized only through greed. He's obsessed with becoming super rich. It's pretty much his only character trait. He couldn't care less about saving the Mushroom World. Then what follows can only be described as the most logical sequence of events that can happen after discovering you're in possession of a magical rock. A dog assaults Mario and then steals the necklace, but in reality the dog was just trying to lead them to the warp pipe even further into the desert that leads them to a cave in the Mushroom Kingdom. This old dude tells them that the evil King Koopa has casted a curse over the Mushroom World and is bound to marry Peach very soon. After learning this, Mario sets off on his journey to save Peach. Some may even say it's a great mission. The rest of this movie's plot up until the climax can be summarized as the following. Go to a set piece with a new character to interact with. Musical montage. Go to the next set piece with another new character to interact with. Musical montage. Rinse and repeat. And besides these two Goombas that follow Mario and Luigi around, all of Bowser's army are dramatically larger than they were in the game. Paracoopas are big enough to ride, and bloopers are the size of Krakens. The song used during those musical montages are easily the best part of the movie. The movie isn't really that long, clocking in at an hour and 1 minute, and with a lot of that being musical montages, there really isn't that much plot. Eventually, the bros and this dog make their way to Bowser's castle. Bowser's writing here reminds me of his portrayal in the RPG games. He's portrayed as a bit of an idiot and meant to be more of a comedic relief than a serious threat. Did you know that the SMB 1 lore was that Bowser cast a spell turning all the toads into mere stones, bricks, and even field horsehair plants, and the Mushroom Kingdom fell into ruin? Because that's the story this movie goes with, as Mario periodically frees toads from a curse, and Bowser apparently possesses the ability to use magic. He can transform into anything. From the perspective of modern day Mario, this was probably the most jarring thing to see. Also, spoilers for how the movie ends if you wanted to watch the remaster yourself. Skip to here if you care. The dumpling dog that has been following Mario and Luigi this entire time was actually a prince. Prince Hara of the Flower Kingdom, to be exact. After Mario defeats Bowser and the curse is lifted, he transforms back to normal. Prince Hara is actually dating Princess Peach, meaning that after all this, Mario isn't able to be with her. The plot of this movie is that Mario got cucked by a dog. Fun fact, this is one of the first times Peach was shown with blonde hair. This is because the coloring of the characters was based off of the concept art opposed to the actual in-game sprites, like the Deke cartoons. This movie isn't a must-watch or anything, but due to just how short it is, I'd recommend this to anyone with at least a passing interest in Mario or old-school anime. Now, I'd feel remiss to not at least acknowledge The Wizard. Although it's by no means a Mario movie, the only reason this movie is even remembered today is because the climax of this movie is all about a kid playing Super Mario Bros. 3 at a gaming competition, and at the time, this was a big deal. This was the first time SMB3 was shown in North America. The launch of SMB3 is an interesting one. I'd recommend watching this video by the gaming historian if you want to know the whole story, but effectively, the gap between the Japanese and American releases was so large that people were getting antsy to finally see Mario 3, and this movie was their first look. As far as what's shown in the movie, the big thing I remember hearing online is that the fact that Jimmy finding a warp whistle and using it as his key for victory is a bit contrived, because this is a game he's never played before. How would he know the secrets? And I would agree with you if it was the warp whistle in 1-2, because finding this without a guide is beyond a long shot. But he finds the one in the first castle, which you can get by flying over this wall with the tanuki. Yeah, it's lucky, but personally, I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility. Alright, now for the main event, Super Mario Bros. The movie. There's a lot to say about this movie, but a lot of it needs the context of the movie itself. So before I begin on the troubled production or the cast's disdain for the movie, I think we need to have a quick look-see through the film itself. The first thing you notice immediately when starting the movie is that the production company, Hollywood Studio, just sounds like one of those fake company names that TV shows use when they can't say the real name. But anyways, the movie starts with someone leaving a baby at an orphanage. Well, sort of. She leaves an egg at the orphanage and the egg hatches and oh, I don't think I can show that. Attached to the egg is a gemstone necklace that is actually a piece of the meteorite that wiped out the dinosaurs. The mother runs back underground only to be confronted by General Koopa, asking for the rock. Scared, the mother caves in the tunnel, preventing Koopa from finding the baby. We then jump forward 20 years to modern day Brooklyn, aka the early 90s, where Mario and Luigi are off on a call to... You know what? The lore of this movie is just so drastically different and off the walls that I think I need to take a break here to just dump it all onto you. So, just a moment ago when I was saying how the movie started, I actually lied. Before the slimy naked newborn, the movie opens with a brief animated segment that explains the bare basics of how this world operates. The premise of the movie is the following.
Goodbye, dinosaurs!
The meteorite that wiped out the dinosaurs 65 million years ago didn't actually kill the dinosaurs, but instead sent them all to a parallel dimension underneath Manhattan known as Dino-Hattan. The forceful ruler of Dino-Hattan is Koopa, which is what they call Bowser in this, and he is the descendant of the T-Rex. Everyone in Dino-Hattan are descendants of dinosaurs and have evolved to resemble humans. Koopa has become fed up with his dino world and wants to expand his horizons into the real world, but can't merge the two dimensions successfully without the meteorite piece necklace that the baby from the beginning of the movie has. Meanwhile, in the real world, we have our three protagonists, Mario, Luigi, and Daisy. Not Peach, Daisy. The reason behind this was at the time in North America, Peach was still referred to as Princess Toadstool, and the screenwriters thought that that sounded like a stupid name, so they went with Daisy. Similar reason for Koopa versus Bowser. They thought Koopa just sounded better. Anyways, the Mario brothers run a plumbing service in Brooklyn, and Daisy's an archaeologist or something. It doesn't really matter. A construction site gets halted after dinosaur bones are found, and Daisy is in charge of the archaeological dig there and ends up arguing with the construction company Scapelli Construction. Scapelli Construction also doubles as the rival plumbing business for the Mario Bros, as they keep getting to calls before them, stealing all their business. The CEO of Scapelli wants them to hurry up and finish with the dig and resorts to using vague threats to get them to stop.
You know, a lot of girls have been going missing in Brooklyn lately. I'd be careful.
It is in fact true that random women have been disappearing throughout the Brooklyn area, and the culprits to these disappearances are Iggy and Spike. See the resemblance? They've been sent by Koopa to kidnap the now grown-up baby to get the meteorite piece back. Apparently, the archaeological dig they've been doing opened back up the portal between dimensions that the mother caved in at the beginning of the movie. Later on, through sheer coincidence, Luigi meets Daisy and they decide to go on a double date together with Mario and his girlfriend. On the date, we learn several important things. The meteorite that wiped out the dinosaurs landed in Brooklyn, which isn't true, it landed in Mexico. Daisy is the baby from the beginning of the movie and still has the meteorite piece around her neck. Luigi also doesn't know who his parents are. His brother Mario raised him since he was a baby, explaining the massive age gap between the two. And lastly, my god, I want Italian food now. After the date, Luigi and Daisy mess around at the dig site. Scapelli sabotaged the dig site by trying to flood it. Luckily, the Mario brothers are world-class plumbers. By the way, Mario's girlfriend gets kidnapped by Iggy and Spike, but after getting the wrong girl again, they return to see Daisy right next to the portal. They kidnap Daisy, and Mario and Luigi have to go after them by following her voice, leading them to the portal between dimensions. Luigi is able to nab the meteorite piece and go in after him. Now the brothers find themselves in a strange new world known as Dino-Hattan, a dark and grungy place overrun by a fungal growth. After discovering that Daisy doesn't have the meteorite necklace, a bounty is put on the plumbers.
Plumber alert.
Plumber alert!
That's right, the Koopa Man is looking for a couple of plumbers.
Who get robbed by this lady right here, and you'll never guess what Mario character she's supposed to be. Go on, guess. You won't be right. Alright, I'll tell you. Big Bertha, the fish that gulps you in one bite. Yeah, see the resemblance? After that encounter, they move on to meet someone new, this dude with a harmonica and spiral haircut. Toad. Toad is one of the only people brave enough to protest against Koopa's oppressive regime, and as punishment he, along with Mario and Luigi, are sent to jail. It is here where we learn that Mario and Luigi's last name is simply Mario. Mario Mario, Luigi Mario. The history of Mario's last name is something that's been constantly up in the air, but Miyamoto has most recently stated back in 2015 that their last name is indeed Mario. However, given its history, it's subject to change at any moment. Koopa has a machine known as the Devo Chamber, and it de-evolves people into their more primal form. As punishment, Toad is sent through the Devo Chamber, and it is revealed that Toads are the descendants of Goombas. Which sort of makes sense, I guess. They're both mushrooms. By the way, yes, this is a Goomba. I do the joke again, but I think you get the point. The former king of Dino Hatton was actually the first to be de-evolved, leaving him as a simple fungus, the same fungus that has been spreading throughout the city. Mario and Luigi use this time to escape. They steal a cop car and drive their way to the vast desert known as Koopahari Desert. Soon after, Iggy and Spike are sent to capture them, but the brothers are able to best them. Both parties agree to exchange Daisy for the necklace, meaning that they have to work together to track down Big Bertha to get it back. Meanwhile, at the top of Koopa Twin Towers, currently under construction, Daisy meets the small dinosaur that you'd probably be able to guess very easily. It's Yoshi! Duh. Honestly, the puppetry on Yoshi is really impressive, so don't feel like making fun of it. Mario, Luigi, Spike, and Iggy make their way to Boom Boom Bar, where Big Bertha works as a bouncer. Mario dances with her and uses his smooth moves to get the necklace back. However, they quickly lose it again when the Goombas show up and take it. Mario and Luigi evade capture and decide to make their way to Koopa Twin Towers to save Daisy, seemingly not caring that the necklace is the key to destroying their own world. Making their way into the tower, they put on disguises and we get the money shot that parallels the movie poster. Back at the top with Daisy, we have an encounter with Lena, Koopa's lover. She's been in the movie this entire time, but she hasn't done anything notable until now. She's jealous of Daisy, so she hides the fact that she's currently in possession of the meteorite piece from Koopa to go behind his back, but not before trying to kill Daisy. Luckily for Daisy, Yoshi eats Lena and poor Yoshi. Daisy escapes and meets up with Iggy and Spike, who are at this point on Mario and Luigi's side. They lead her to her father, the clump of fungus in the throne room, and former leader of Dino Hatton. Eventually, Mario and Luigi find her and also meet her father. Then they split up, escape the tower, and the climax of the movie happens, which is just a bunch of action sequences of Bowser getting the rock, losing the rock, Mario pretending to have the rock, and Lena actually having the rock and making her way to the meteorite to merge the dimensions. Lena is ultimately successful in reinserting the broken off meteorite piece, but learns the hard way, aka death, that Daisy is the only one powerful enough to withstand the Force for some reason. Daisy needs to pull out the meteorite piece and stop their two dimensions from becoming one, but unfortunately it seems she's taking too long as the merge has begun. Mario and Koopa are sent to the dig site and Koopa Twin Towers replace their real ones in some eerily foreshadowy imagery.
Look! It's Koopa's tower!
Those guys will do anything for publicity.
After missing Mario with a de-evolution gun, the CEO of Scapelli Construction gets turned into a monkey!
Monkey!
They never show him turn back into a human, so I guess he stayed a monkey forever. Daisy and Luigi are successfully able to remove the meteorite piece, unmerging the two worlds. Now back in Dino Hatton, Mario and Luigi use the Devo gun to de-evolve Koopa into a Tyrannosaurus Rex, which seems worse, but then they keep going and de-evolve him into nothing but a pile of goo. The kingdom is liberated, but Daisy decides that she wants to stay until she knows the whole truth about her past. 3 weeks later, the Mario Bros are back in their Brooklyn apartment and going back to normal life. But then, a Daisy comes a-knockin', ending the movie on a cliffhanger that will never be resolved. Sort of. But I'll get to that later. But anyways, yeah, that's the movie. Definitely screams Mario, doesn't it? But even if this isn't a shining example of a good adaptation, this movie is almost entirely forgotten about in modern day, only ever being brought up as that weird Mario movie that exists. Looking back at reviews from when this movie released, the general consensus seems to be that the special effects and makeup was extremely impressive, and the world they created looked good visually, but the writing was very poor and held the movie back from being anything more than just alright. And as far as I can tell, the reasoning for that is the directors. The directors of this movie are husband and wife Rocky Morton and Annabelle Jinkle. They are most well known for the creation of Max Headroom, which I've never heard of before now, but apparently was pretty popular in the 80s. According to Bob Hoskin, who played Mario, they threw away their script and decided to do things their way, leading to everything going south. When they're gone over $10 million over budget, their own agent threw them off the set. Then we said, we gotta finish this film ourselves. The editor came down and said, I don't know what we're gonna do. We haven't one single finished scene. So basically, in 2 weeks, we had to cobble together a film, and what could have been a very, very interesting film went up. Rubbish. Complete rubbish. That's my best Bob Hoskin voice. And this isn't the last quote of his, I'm gonna say. The directors of this movie completely botched the execution of what was apparently a pretty good script. However, that doesn't really answer the question of why this script has seemingly nothing to do with Super Mario outside of the characters' names. Well, for one, the idea of parallel dimensions and Dino Hatton was added by the directors after the fact. The directors have stated that their intentions were that this movie tells a story of what really happened, and that the games we know and love are just some Japanese businessmen's kooky interpretations of the events of the film. The post-credits scene corroborates this by showing just that. Iggy and Spike, now living in the real world, recount their story to some Japanese businessmen looking to adapt the story into a video game. But to make things worse, the script went through constant rewrites even after filming began. Both the cast and crew grew a disdain for the director duo, giving them the nickname the Flying Squirrel Show. Due to all this craziness going down on set, what was originally supposed to be a 10-week shoot got extended into a 15-week shoot. The late Bob Hoskin was the most vocal about his discontent for the Mario movie.
The worst thing I ever did? Super Mario Brothers. It was a fucking nightmare. The whole experience was a nightmare. It had a husband and wife team directing whose arrogance has been mistaken for talent. After so many weeks, their own agent told them to get off the set. Fucking nightmare. Fucking idiots.
After everything Bob Hoskin went through on shoot, it's surprising that he was actually far from the first choice to play Mario. Dustin Hoffman was the first person offered to play the role, but was let down by Nintendo, who instead wanted Danny DeVito to play Mario. This would have been legendary. However, unfortunately, DeVito turned down the role to focus on his own movie he was working on at the time. Eventually, they secured a deal with Tom Hanks to play Mario for $5 million, but the studio decided that that was out of the price range. Now, if you don't mind, I'm gonna take a second to gush about Yoshi. Out of all the characters I said look nothing like their video game counterparts, I was the least critical of Yoshi, and that's because unlike modern movies like Jurassic World, Yoshi in this movie is 100% real. He's an animatronic, he actually exists. Look, here's behind the scenes photos. He's real. Look how many puppeteers it takes just for him to move around. Isn't that so cool? Apparently, Yoshi was one of the last cable puppets used in movies before CGI swept the industry. When the filmmakers saw Yoshi in action, they actually ended up writing him in more scenes. If I had to guess, I'd say he was only originally in the scene where they introduce him as Koopa's pet and the scene where he attacks Lena, because all the other scenes that he's in, he just stands there. Yeah, Daisy talks to him, but he never really feels like he needs to be there. Especially the scene where Daisy is talking to her father for the first time. Yoshi just peeks his head through the door just to watch the scene. He doesn't actually do anything, he's just there. You could easily cut Yoshi's reaction shots out of this and it would be the exact same scene. But of course, these scenes should stay because, I mean, look at him. He's so cool. If you're wondering what came of the puppet after production wrapped, apparently they reused his innards for a T-Rex in a McDonald's commercial, but his head is still intact to this day. Now, about that cliffhanger, Daisy barges back into the bro's life saying,
You gotta come with me, I need your help.
Then fade to black, the most tropiest of Hollywood tropes. But what's even more of a trope is to set up a sequel that never happens, and that's exactly what this ending does.
Until the original writers of the movie came together to brainstorm what a sequel would look like, and put that script to page in the form of a webcomic. May 25th, 2013, the first page of the canon sequel dropped. But unfortunately, only 2 years later, the comic would suddenly end, leaving us on yet another cliffhanger.
The fact that this comic never finished aside, the general idea of the plot is the following. After the ending of the first movie, Daisy accidentally opens a new portal, discovering a third dimension, Subcon, the home of Wart. She enlists Mario and Luigi to help save Dino Hatton before it's too late. Honestly, a great plot with a lot of potential. Too bad it never got to finish. But it's still up to this day if you like to read it regardless. I went into this movie expecting not to like it because everything I've ever heard about this film on the internet has been negative, or mixed at best. And on my first viewing, I was quite negative myself, but after rewatching this several times for the video, I came to enjoy it more and more with every rewatch. It creates such an interesting world with imaginative sets, and its impressive puppetry helps sell it all. The characters are by no means the best written they could be, but this movie just has this charm to it where it just doesn't really matter. It's by no means a Mario movie, at least not by our modern understanding, but I can see how this movie earned its cult classic status. So, there you go. Every Mario movie that isn't that Mario movie, which I have big plans for once it finally comes out. But in the meantime, I'd honestly suggest watching these movies to hold you over. The anime movie is available here on YouTube, link in description, and the Mario Bros movie is a little harder to get. If you live somewhere where Region 2 Blu-rays work, you can easily get it on Amazon. Otherwise, your best bet would be watching it on Netflix with a VPN. But yeah, thanks for watching. I've been trying really hard to get this video as close to the Super Mario movie trailer as possible, so hopefully that worked out. Anyways, bye.